So welcome you all tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started. Just have a little bit of music playing in the background. Hopefully it is not detracting or distracting. Hopefully you can hear it a little bit. It's got some nice Hertz music kind of lined up with the track. It is from, what is it? Hold on, let me look at YouTube real quick. It is from the Larimar Sound Alchemy channel on YouTube, and this is called Jaguar Healing. So I'm enjoying this channel on YouTube right now. It's really got some awesome like shamanic meditative music, pretty long tracks, so they're good for you know, just playing in the background or if you're doing some kind of meditation work. So now that I've got some people on the live here, I would like to officially, formally welcome you to tonight's energy update. Let me settle in my chair a little bit. Okay, there we go. It's feeling a little weird there. So my name is Malia. I'm sure you all know me, but maybe you don't. My name is Malia, and I am with Inner Perfect. So welcome to our live that we do every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And we are going to talk about the energies that are present now, that are incoming. We're going to talk about Mercury Retrograde, which officially started today. And just had the new moon yesterday as well. So we're going to kind of talk about what's going on. I would love for you all to share kind of what you're going through energetically, certain things that are maybe coming up in your life, because it shows us how we're all connected, how we are all affected by these energies. And that reflection, that introspection helps us maybe by, you know, explaining what we're going through or things that we're kind of seeing out in our universe. It helps maybe clarify things for us in our own personal life, you know. So maybe there's somebody watching or someone who's not participating in the live but is catching a replay, and you know your question might be very pertinent for them, you know. So if they're watching the live, they're not comfortable saying something or posing a question, you know, if you feel inspired to share or to ask a question or something, you know, it very well could be good for you, but then it could also be good for someone else too. So feel free to leave something in the comments. All right. So, yes, Mercury Retrograde. Mercury Retrograde started today. But before we fully dive into that, I feel like there has been a buildup and a lead up to Mercury Retrograde, which didn't just start yesterday, but we're going to kind of talk about a few things that happened in our awareness yesterday. Yesterday being the new moon, and also the 12/12 portal. And when we have a portal energy that is kind of structured around dates, we like to look at the numerology of the dates, how those numbers kind of vibe together, and then maybe kind of look into those energies that may be kind of calling forth things within our own lives that you know, need amplification, that, you know, need healing, like whatever it is. So the 12/12 portal, of course, we have December, which is the 12th month, and then we have the 12th day. And then of course, you know, if you really wanted to line up your portal work that you did yesterday, you could have done something when it was midnight 12 minutes after, or it could have been around noon 12 minutes after as well. But with the portal of energy, when we have any kind of these energetic gateways, there are exact times, right, where it's kind of like everything really, really cohesively meshes together, and the portal is maybe at its peak. But we do have a flowing into that portal energy and a flowing out of. So I really feel that even though the 12/12 portal was yesterday, we're really kind of still hovering in that energy. We're still also, you know, feeling the new moon energies as well. And if you saw maybe some of my infographic posts that I made yesterday, I was like, what's today? That I made yesterday about the new moon, is that with tropical or Western astrology calculations, yes, the new moon was in Sagittarius. But then with Vedic or sidereal astrology, the new moon was in Scorpio. So we have Sagittarian energy, we have Scorpio energy, both very passionate, signs, energies, but also very different. And as I've explained before in the lives that I do, moon circles, things like that, is that I don't see those two camps of astrology as really conflicting with each other. I see them more to be, different layers or levels of the energies that we may be working with, dealing with, whatever, when we have a new moon like yesterday, or a full moon, or a eclipse, or whatever it is. So I like to look at how those energies, those elements, those signs may kind of mix together, and the alchemy of the two of them, how they work together. Or saying, well, like, I'm really feeling more drawn to that Scorpio energy, or I'm feeling a little more of that pull of that Sagittarius energy. And that just might be, like with what your astrological makeup is, kind of what kind of paradigm or energy you're really working in. There's so many things that can kind of play in, and there's nothing that's right or absolute and nothing that's wrong. It's just kind of like what you're really aligning with too. Okay. I am going to do some intuitive card pulls towards the end of the live as well. So if there are any questions that you all may have, if there's anything that you would like for me to specifically ask about during the live card pull, think about that and put that in the comments when we're getting kind of wrapped up with the energy update as well. Okay? Awesome. So welcome to those of you who have just hopped on. We're going to get started talking about Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde, we have talked about Mercury retrograde before in our previous lives, because Mercury retrograde happens every couple months, honestly. It's not a retrograde that is like super rare. Mercury is a fairly faster moving planet, in our solar system, so we kind of get that retrograde action pretty regularly. But it gets such a bad rap, it gets such a dread of, oh no, Mercury is going retrograde, and how am I going to deal with everything? And we talked about that in the last live, about things that you may have wanted to kind of wrap up before Mercury went retrograde, things that you wanted to kind of like line up and get in order, to kind of make this a little more smooth sailing. But I will share a little bit with you all some interesting themes, let's just say themes of things that have shown up this week for me. And I have seen this in not just my life, but in other people's awareness, that, people that I've talked to, people that I know, people who have come into the shop this week. So Mercury retrograde, Mercury governs transportation, communication, technology. It is this swift, fast flow of stuff, okay? So when we think of like the shadow side of Mercury retrograde, and we think of, we really thought we sent an email, or we did send an email, but it got lost out in the ether, and then it's caused this whole, kind of like chain of events that's been very inconvenient or upsetting or whatever. Or maybe you had a conversation with someone over text, and it just like you didn't communicate that well, or they didn't take it well, or there was something lost in translation, and there's this communication confusion. So there is the potentiality of that energy with a Mercury retrograde. But the beauty of the Mercury retrograde, and how we can really at least use these things, these themes that are showing up in our life, these lessons, these mirrors, whatever it is, how we can use those really to our advantage. And I don't mean like taking advantage of necessarily, but I mean like really helping us grow, move through something, for a positive end, is that when Mercury is retrograde, it is slow. The energy is gentle. It's like, of course, appearing to us that it is moving backwards, right? So we can get these things that show up from our past, whether they are past relationships, friendships, communication issues, that something about this is, from our past, and we are being given a chance to revisit this during Mercury retrograde, because the energy is kind of like, it's not flowing forward, right? Moving, spiraling forward through the cosmos. it appears to us while we're here on earth is that is actually going backwards, you know. So it is a blast from the past, right? And just as a little side note, you know, we had Venus retrograde this summer, and sorry, I just got like a little bing in my head, but that's my own little mental note. But we had Venus retrograde this summer, which, you know, Venus affects our finances, affects our relationships. And so, you know, there was a lot of that kind of like reprioritizing and revisiting and just kind of like that inventory of our finances and our relationships this summer. And Venus retrograde doesn't happen as regularly as Mercury retrograde. So it was, you know, it's pretty intense for a lot of people. But with Mercury retrograde, because communication is so important, you know, with our relationships and with our business dealings and like everything, it does affect so many aspects, you know, of our life. So I guess kind of getting to the themes or things that I've seen in my personal sphere this week, especially coupled with the new moon. And me setting, you know, intentions with the portal and all these kinds of wonderful, juicy things, is that I've been seeing in my external world, people inserting themselves into my sphere and bringing up things from maybe their past or issues that they have not resolved, and presenting it to me, sometimes aggressively, which is fine. Whatever. And yet there's been a lesson and insight in it for me as well. You know, revisiting different versions of myself that I've maybe moved past, outgrown, healed through, whatever. And able to say with compassion, but also with firm boundaries of, I hear you, I can maybe empathize or I can sympathize, but your issues or these things that you're working through are yours, you know. If you're coming to me for advice or for insight, I can offer that in a certain capacity, but then also to be able to kind of like take that information, take that mirror that is being shown to me, and not be like patting myself on the back and being like, oh, I'm so evolved or awesome or, you know, like whatever it is, but just saying like, wow, you know, old me or, you know, a different version of me maybe would have reacted to this interaction in a different way, or I can see parts of me in this mirror, you know, but I know that's not who I am now or where I am now. And so it's really, although some of these interactions maybe have been challenging, it's also really beautiful just to kind of see more in that full spectrum and the full sphere of understanding. Not that I fully even understand all of it, but to be able to really take it as such, right? So, yeah, I'm really okay with that. And like, I feel very good with where I am at in my life. And, what those interactions or lessons are kind of like bringing to me and kind of how I sit with that. So it would be interesting to hear if any of you are seeing things coming up that are like even old themes, right? Not necessarily like a person from your past, but even just kind of like, wow, there's something that I recognize in this that seems familiar, but maybe it's foreign though, because you have moved past those energies or whatever. And that's the cool thing about a retrograde. Mercury retrograde can not necessarily just say there's this thing from the past that was unresolved, and so now I'm bringing it back to you for you to resolve it now if you would choose to do so. But it can also bring something from your past, you know, from a former version of you or whatever, and it can kind of, you know, present itself in this kind of like gentle embrace of this slow movement of Mercury retrograde, and you can be like, wow, like it gives you more perspective and a little more objectivity to be able to see that lesson or that thing that maybe would have been triggering to you or was triggering to you or maybe still triggers you, but you can see kind of where your grown version is able to sit with that and interact with that. So it can be like confirmation for you. It can be very validating and very healing. And like I said, sometimes triggering or upsetting. I mean, sometimes growth is challenging, right? But it can also be very empowering. So I hope that you maybe have received some of those kinds of interactions, or that you will be open to that, to kind of give you like it's like a checkpoint, you know, and you're just like, whoa, I really am here on my journey, you know, and there's no like better or worse place. We all have our own pace. We all have our own lessons, our own things that we came here to experience. So there's no judgment for me coming from like where, oops, that is YouTube and the YouTube ad. So I'm just gonna pause it. Sorry. Thank you, Mercury retrograde. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Haha. So, anyway. So, I think I was saying that, that I really don't know what I was saying. Anyway, I was just saying that if you have the opportunity to either allow yourself to feel that confirmation of like, where are you at? Where you been, you know, where you've come from, and to really be like, wow, I really have made a lot of progress. I've really, you know, done some work, all of that. That's awesome. And then maybe there are things that are open-ended, or you don't have closure, you don't have understanding on from the past, and that may show up, especially if you're kind of open to that, right? To where you can get this kind of perspective on that during this time. So, you know, sometimes I feel like I need to give like a disclaimer or some kind of almost like a caveat on like, I'm not trying to make lemonade out of every single lemon that shows up in your life. You know, maybe all the clouds that are in the sky do not have a silver lining. You know, I'm not trying to just be like, love and light, be positive, be great, you know, it's okay, and just like scoot past all of the challenges. You know, I don't want to come across that way. But what I do want to convey is that everything, because we are in this reality on our planet that we live on as humans, there is a light and shadow with everything. And that duality is a really, really big part of our experience, at least right now as humans, because it gives us that comparison, it gives us that contrast. And if we experience loss, you know, emptiness, you know, then we know what that feels like to be without and that void. But then that opens us up to also experiencing the fullness of receiving and of love too, right? And then once we kind of experience both, and sometimes like we go through those things in our life at different times together, whatever, and then we have that comparison, that contrast. Sometimes we may have more of one experience on that one end of the spectrum, and then we witness it in someone else's life. It could be through art, it could be through a movie, it could be through a book, it could be just, you know, kind of vicariously seeing someone else's journey, whatever, and we can see that and empathize with that, and then we get kind of that full picture as well. So some lifetimes are full of more one energy, then we bring that knowledge into this lifetime and then experience the other half of that, and then we're able to integrate. I mean, there's so many ways that we get that understanding and that experience, but that's what we are here to do, is to experience life. Yes, we learn things, we learn lessons, but it is not, like I've said, and this kind of keeps coming up, it's not about being punished. It's not about, I was really a crappy person, so now I've got to do extra good to balance out that karma. You know, it's all about the experience and the learning it's like the understanding of the experience. It is like the full mind, body, spirit in your guts, in your, you know, ascended self, whatever, is like really, really getting it and really integrating that understanding. That's what our life is for. The experience, totally about experience. And I could have let off with this, but this is something that I felt called to share. I don't know, came up maybe this morning or something last night or something as I was, kind of thinking about the energy update. And I don't want this to sound like a tangent or a rant. And I am hopefully going to let this information just kind of flow through me as I do, instead of being like, hi, I'm Malia and I know everything, which I don't, and I'm no expert. But I hope that this information can flow through me as a vessel, because I felt inclined to share this, and hopefully I am eloquent when I say this, because earlier when I was thinking about it, it was just like the F-bomb kept coming up, and I was like, well, we'll see how graceful this message comes through. Okay, cool. So, nobody is perfect. Okay, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We're not supposed to be perfect. And I chose the name Inner Perfect, which I have had the Inner Perfect domain name and idea for longer than I've had my business in general. I mean, I've had my business since 2010. Inner Perfect came into my awareness at least 5 years before that, and probably longer. I'd have to go back and look when I secured that domain name, and I was like, nobody chose that? Wow, that's amazing. It's such a cool thing. It's such a perfect little phrase. But the reason that I chose Inner Perfect, which I believe I talked about this either last live or the one before, was really trying to honor and really speak to our true self, our higher self, our beautiful, pure soul self, the universe, that it is perfection. And it's like, what is perfection? What is perfect? There could be so many definitions, without flaw, without let's just go with that, without flaw, and to me, perfection, especially when we look at it within the human experience, perfection is like all the good, all the bad, all the rough and raw and grittiness, and then all the expansive beauty and grace and love and all of that too. It is just all of that together. That's what's perfect. If you just had in your, let's just say this. If you think of your favorite dessert, okay, your absolute favorite dessert. And maybe this is a horrible example, but I'm going to go with it. Think of your favorite dessert. And I mean, do you eat that all the time? You might, because it's your favorite. But I know for me, it's not like I eat my favorite dessert all the time. But when I get to have it, it's usually a special occasion, or, not every place has it or whatever. But when I have it, it's like, oh, this is so good. It has been maybe so long since I've had this, but it's like, yes, this is why this is my favorite dessert. It's just perfect for me, right? If I ate it every day, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or, I was just like, well, here we go. Here's my favorite dessert again. And then it would not be so special. It would just be I would get kind of used to it. And then I would be like, yeah, that's just what I do. I mean, even my body, how my body would react to it, the endorphins and all the things that get triggered in my brain and in my body, when I eat that thing that I love, that's such a treat, I wouldn't get the same reaction from it. And really, after a while, it would not be my favorite dessert, I don't think. I would acclimate to it. It would be my new normal. It's yeah, it's just what I do, right? So when we have that emptiness and then that fullness, right? We get that this is what it is to not have it. Ooh, this is what it is to have it. We have that comparison, right? But for me, perfection is remembering, our inner perfect self is remembering like the essence of who we are, like actually what we are, like the stardust universe energy. And then it's saying, yes, I am perfect. I am all encompassing. I am all that is. And there's this tiny little portion of the universe that is now manifested in a human body as me, as you, with this little spark of soul. And now we're on Earth and we're having these, heart, gut wrenching experiences. We're feeling the expansiveness and the fun and joy of like new love, or, adorable puppies, or, having our favorite dessert every once in a while. Or, getting really angry about something or whatever it is. And we're feeling it in like 3D, we have our senses, we have, all of these things that are bringing in all of this information for us. And so we are experiencing as the universe itself in this human form in this realm. And there's no other place ever like Earth to experience these things. And it is amazing. And it is, being a human, having a soul, being in this animal body, all of that is one experience. And, we could have multiple experiences going on in different realities and timelines and all the stuff. But where our perspective is here now. And it is pretty phenomenal. And it is pretty amazing to be able to have these very specific, unique types of experiences as a human right now. And you chose that. I believe that we chose to be here at this time, experiencing these things through this lens, for understanding. And it's like our soul is like part of the universe. And so it's like, always like, the universe understands more. The universe gets to experience, what this is like, as me, right? So that's what I feel about like perfection and like inner perfect, it is not, and I think you will know this about me. I really feel like you do, but it is not coming from like a place of like ego or, I'm perfect, or, I'm more evolved than blah, 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 or whatever. And, thank you. Thank you. I have a comment. He says, he's so lost, but he's extremely enjoying my excitement is great. Yes, I am like pumped. I am pumped. I am pumped right now. I'm having fun. Thank you. You're not lost. You're doing great, David. Okay. So anyway, this is, and that was just like a really graceful intro into really what I want to say. Okay. So this is what came to me this morning. Is, what really irritates me is the love and light, that it's all love and light. Okay. That's one thing that irritates me. This is really what irritates me, is people who say, I am so enlightened. I am so ascended. I am so evolved. I am so intuitive. I'm on my soul journey and blah, 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 poetic, whatever. Like, if you're really saying that, and you really believe that, and that is coming from your heart space, soul space, and there's like authenticity and a genuine energy in that, I can feel that. I know what you're saying, but if you're coming from a place of inadequacy, like comparison and contrast, like ego driven, trying to make up for your sense of, oh, my neck just popped again. This is the second time during an energy update. It's like, weird. Okay. Not weird, but okay. If you're coming from a sense of like, here it comes, like measuring dicks or whatever, like, I don't resonate with that. I mean, I will just be like, cool. That's great that you're so whatever you say you are, but I'm going to go over here because I don't need to have this conversation because I'm not competing with you. We're not, I don't compete with anybody. And I'm not going to have that kind of BS conversation where it's like, oh, I'm this trained, degree, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not dogging anybody who has trained and certifications, who's studied, who's like invested their time, energy, effort, whatever. Like, that's great. I'm not dogging that. I'm just saying that if you feel like it makes you ultra spiritual to like throw out these certifications or these levels or these whatever, and you feel like that makes you a better person or that makes you more evolved or ascended or like whatever, you are freaking missing the point. Because, like, I did not want to put my freaking bio on my website. I didn't want to be like, hi, I'm Aaliyah of Inner Perfect, and I'm freaking awesome. And I'm old, and I've studied all of this since I was 14. But that's what I've done. But whatever, what does it matter? I'm a Reiki master. Yeah, I'm a freaking Reiki master. It's great. There's a whole lot of other Reiki masters out there too. Like, cool. And yes, I love Reiki and it's fantastic. You know what a Reiki master means? It means like I've done some studying and someone who is a fantastic friend and mentor like trained me and let me learn on my own, and she did my initiations and my attunements 3 times, and I'm a Reiki master, and now I do that for other people. It doesn't mean like I am master of the universe. It doesn't mean I'm master of whatever. That's what it means. And it's just like we all have freaking egos. We all have egos. That's part of our human self. It's how we it's like these tendrils and tentacles that we put out when we meet out with another ego, and then we're like, ooh, that's what it's like, But then it's like, that's not really, our ego's not who we are, And when we get so lost in that, when we get so wrapped up in that ego self and think that that's who we are, or all these labels, are like, oh, this is who I am. This is the hat that I'm wearing, and look at this gold star, and, whatever. Like, that's not who you are either. I mean, it's part of your experience, and that's great, but it's like, doesn't make me think that you're a more awesome person. It doesn't make me think that, you're better than me, or I'm better than you, or whatever. And that's what really is frustrating to me. Agreeing with you, Alicia, okay? That is what is really frustrating to me right now is like, do you know, I'm sure you do because y'all are on Instagram and y'all are on Facebook and you go look on YouTube and all this kind of stuff. Do you know how many people, like, I'm like a certified master, blah, 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 and like, I've yogi, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, cool. Like, who are you really? What is your passion? What's your vibe? Like, really, what do you have to offer? We get so caught up in labels, in categories, in, all these little boxes with qualifications that we somehow judge. This is better. This is worse. This means that I'm a spiritual person. This means that I'm unevolved, like whatever it is. And it's just like, okay, I guess that's one way to communicate about it, but is that really true? And I would say most of the time, no. Just because you have these labels or you claim to be anything, or your guides or your spirit team or your higher self or your twin flame or whatever has validated this for you, and I'm not saying that's not real, I'm just saying that's your lens, that's your understanding, cool. But like, what does that mean to me? What does that mean to somebody else? It could mean something completely different. And that's, the freaking English language, or like language in general, can be really confusing. And here we are in Mercury retrograde, right? So hopefully this message is coming across clearly, and it's not my message. I mean, yeah, like my ego and my personality and my brain and everything is like, you know what I find annoying? This crap. This is what I find annoying, frustrating, whatever it is. But I felt like when it came through to me, and I'm just like this mouthpiece, I'm just like, hey, I'm going to share this message with you. But I felt like it was coming through me, not because I'm a freaking awesome channel, whatever, we can all channel. It's cool. It's all good. Is as though that is like it. I wanted to share that reality check that I don't think any more or less of you based on how evolved and enlightened you say you are. And I would hope and expect that you all, and that I can communicate this to you and share this with you, that you don't think any better of me because I'm a Reiki master, because I'm a channel, because I'm intuitive, because I'm psychic, because I talk to dead people, because whatever. Like, I am a person. You are a person. And when we meet in that heart space, that genuine, like, heart space, it doesn't matter what you know, what you do, or whatever. That's where I want to meet. That's where I want to interact with people. And yeah, sometimes you have to be like, I'm at point A and I need to get to point C, and these are the steps and these are the landmarks to look for, and that's great. That's logical. That's like, how we get somewhere. But when we are talking about our spiritual evolution and we're talking about our spiritual self, as soon as we start saying, well, I am in my elevated self and I am this and I'm great and whatever, and yeah, have self-confidence, like feel good about who you are and embody it and like just enjoy it and revel in it. That is fantastic. I'm not telling you to like hide it or feel bad about it or whatever, or suggesting whatever. I mean, take whatever I say with a grain of salt. It's fine. But what I'm saying is that when someone says something with this, and the intentions can be because they feel bad about themselves, or they're comparing themselves to others, or they're trying to impress somebody, or like whatever. But if somebody's like, oh, I'm so evolved, oh, I'm so enlightened, I'm so whatever, like, really? I'm pretty sure that like anybody who is actually really, really ascended and enlightened is not going to be saying that they're ascended and enlightened. We're all on a journey. We're all working on it. But if you're just like, oh, I'm so this, you're probably not. Okay, cool. But that's what it translates to me. Number two, then what are you saying? So you're this. And if you're using that as some kind of a negotiation tool or some way to like qualify, well, I'm this, so what are you? Then immediately that's saying one is better than this. One is more preferred over this, or like my journey and the work that I've done is more important, or more invested or whatever than what you've done. And then we're comparing, and then we're like not, we are comparing, and then we're saying one is better, one is worse, and one's gonna have to win. One sucks and one is fantastic. And so it is this division and it is competition. And like I said, I am not competing with anybody except for myself. I challenge myself. And I hope for you that you are not competing with anyone else. That when you see other people's successes and their challenges, right? That you can be that empathetic human and just say, that's where they are. That's where they're at. This is how I understand it through my lens, my understanding, where I'm at. And just take it from there. Not, oh, well, I'm better than. Or they're better than me. If it's inspirational, if it's something that you're like, that uplifts me, that makes me feel expansive. I feel the stirrings of that within myself, and I want to enhance that more. I want to experience that more. Yes, like other people or situations or things or art or music or beauty and nature, whatever can be inspirational. But don't use it as a freaking measuring stick. Like, we're not competing with each other. We're not. I'm not competing with other people who do the magical, mystical stuff that I do. I am not competing with other shop owners. I'm not competing with other women. or other people. I am not competing with anybody. Now, if it was like a competition and we're like, how many hot dogs can this person eat in 30 seconds? And I'm like, I would like to enter this competition, then yeah, that's a freaking competition. But otherwise, that's not what we're doing here. And that's not what I'm doing. You do whatever you want to do, right? Cool. But the thing is that division and that competition and that comparing and that all the things that brings up in us, if it's a negative feeling, meaning you feel triggered, you feel angry, you feel less than, you feel like you want to crush somebody, like all that stuff, sometimes those can be inspiring feelings to have, motivating, right? But mostly, it just eats you up inside. And when we start competing and comparing and that division is there, then instead of saying, oh, I can see the whole picture, I can see all of these aspects of all the potentials of being human and all of these varieties of experiences and like all this kind of stuff, we get stuck in, yeah, but this is my camp. This is my side. This is what's right. This is what's wrong. And I know, yes, there's like right and wrong because we're humans and we have to like stay alive and not kill everybody, or, you know, we've got laws and rules and all that kind of stuff. Like I get that. But in a universal viewpoint, there is no right and wrong. There's no good and evil. There's just all the energy, and then all that crap and good stuff is all mixed in together. Now on Earth, and I will address this very briefly, and I am hoping that you all are still here and keeping up with me because I'm like, I'm on a roll, man. But yes, on Earth, because we do have the duality, and then we have light and shadow, and because we do have good and evil, or good and bad, and all of that kind of stuff, and all the varying degrees in that, I guarantee, at least with my understanding, that with all the angel numbers, and all the ascended masters, and all the elevated light beings, starseed energy, all of that higher vibrational stuff, there are equal opposite, sludge, negative, evil entities, demons, all of that stuff. Okay? That's not where I want to spend my my energy. That's not where I want to put my focus. That's not where I want to navigate around in, hang out with, make BFFs with. But as someone who, in this term, I understand what it means for myself, but it's one of those other ones where I was just kind of talking about, like, I'm so evolved, I'm so ascended, I'm so whatever, like light worker. Okay? Like that term has just been like overused, and it is another like label that people use that are just like, I'm better than you because I'm a light worker, you know, whatever. But as a light worker, as someone who wants to work in that healing, expansive, loving light energy, okay, is that I also have to know what is in the depths. I have to know what is in the dark. I have to know what is in that part of the spectrum, because it is an equal opposite of where I would like to operate. And so those of us, and it could be all of us, okay, who are light workers, who are healers, who are transmuters of energy and all that kind of stuff, to be in just that love and light spectrum and never even like look at the other stuff, is ignoring that duality of that. And as we are healers, we do need to be able to know our way around in the dark. And a lot of times, you know, people who do healing and things like that, we have had traumas and dark night of the soul and, you know, experiences that we have found our way out of the dark. You know, we have had some kind of familiarity in that to be able to have, you know, that sense of knowing and like, I've been here before. I kind of know how to get around in here, so that when we are helping other people, we are, you know, as a healer or whatever, to be able to root around in there and like be like, hey, I got the flashlight. Let's go over here. Okay. But people who may be trying to wear the mask or keep that facade of, I'm a healer, I'm a light worker, I am so, whatever, I'll just leave it at that. Um, who yet are seduced by the dark and who are like, I'm wearing this mask and this is what I'm saying I am, but really, there's this allure to the dark, and that's actually the energy that I'm working with. That's just not being honest. That's your journey, that's your choice, that's your experience, but I myself really appreciate transparency. I really appreciate if you're just like, I love the dark. I want to be there all the time. I want to just revel in that. Like, at least you're being honest. Don't say you're a freaking light worker and a healer and all this kind of stuff, and then that's really the camp that you're in. As far as like the pendulum like swung and dropped off there, right? At least when interacting with me, I mean, you do wear as many masks or labels or hats or disguises or whatever you want to do, that's cool. But I really appreciate transparency, and I really appreciate and respect honesty. And none of us are perfect. Like I said, none of us are completely healed. We will never be 100% completely healed earthside as a human, but we may be working on that. We may be trying to just understand and see again what that full spectrum experience is, like I was talking about earlier. So I kind of feel like, yeah, I guess that was it as far as like what I really wanted to share or kind of delve into. And, the biggest, if you just heard one thing, the biggest takeaway is that I don't think I am better than, more evolved than anybody. This is my own journey. You have your own. And I'm all about just living my life and figuring out stuff for me, and I am so grateful for when people cross my path and we can share and we can interact and we can learn from each other, or mirrors, whatever it is. But I'm not comparing myself to anybody else, and I hope you don't compare yourself to anybody else either, in a way that is I am better than or they are better than me. We're all just doing the thing. We're all humans, okay? So like I said, it was really hard for me to even put my bio on my website, because I was like, some people want to know, some people want to say, well, what are your specialties? What are your gifts? What are your, healing modalities, whatever. And so, okay, so I put that stuff on there, but I'm not saying that I'm freaking awesome. I'm not saying that I'm special or fantastic or better than you or anything like that. I believe that everyone is intuitive. I believe that everyone is and or can be a channel. I believe that all of us are the freaking universe experiencing itself as humans. I believe that we can all be total jerks and assholes, and we can be like the most loving, special, sweetest kittens ever. Like, we have so much potential either end of the spectrum. And I just hope that I can be genuine and authentic with all of you, and I hope to inspire that in you. Not because I'm supposed to teach you anything, just because that's what I hope I can do. Leading by example, and not coming from a place of ego, and not coming from a place of competition, because I'm not competing with anybody. And I hope that we can all just be our awesome selves and do our own thing and support each other and be inspired by each other, instead of, like I said, measuring dicks. I don't want to do that. So, yeah. Anyway, happy Mercury retrograde.